मोदी हैं तो मुमकिन है, ठीक है। तो पिछले 10 वर्षों में जो नॉर्थ ईस्ट में परिवर्तन हुआ है, एंड यू नो व्हेन आई टॉक ऑफ द स्केल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट दैट इज ह्यूमंगस, दैट इज ऑल परवेसिव। इट्स अ मिथ, यू नो, जो कांग्रेस पार्टी है या जो हमारी विपक्षी पार्टी है वो हमेशा ये मानती है कि वो अलग है, सबको मतलब एक अलग दृष्टि से देखती है। लेकिन नॉर्थ ईस्ट वो जगह है जहाँ से रुक्मिणी, जिनका विवाह कृष्ण जी के साथ हुआ था, वो अरुणाचल से आती है। चित्रांगदा, you know, from Mahabharat is from Manipur. 10 years ago, Northeast was contributing 2.6% of our total GDP. Now that has gone down to almost 3%. There has been there will be a more significant increase as you see the effect of a lot of things which have been initiated now. Entrepreneurship is something which, there are 3 entrepreneurs who have contributed, and in fact, the way entrepreneurs are mushrooming, growing in every part of Northeast, that's a story of its own. कोविड के दौरान जो था, लोग अचंभित थे कि जिस तरह से ड्रोन्स के जरिए ऐसे इलाकों में वैक्सीन पहुंचाई गई और कोई भी ऐसे व्यक्ति नहीं था जो कि वैक्सीनेशन से वंचित रहा था। तो रिकॉर्ड टाइम में नागालैंड, मणिपुर, अरुणाचल के दूर दराज के क्षेत्र में 100% जो है वैक्सीनेशन हासिल करना, मेरे ख्याल से वो अपने आप में एक उपलब्धि थी।
Private people can't build infrastructure, so this has been built. Connectivity has come. There's been a record footfall of tourists, both foreign and domestic, in the Northeast region. So once the infrastructure is there, now businesses will come, services will come, and now I think, really the Northeast region will develop.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm Aabir Lahiry. You're watching Wassup, Aabir and ABP Live Podcast. Joining me today in conversation is Tuhin, Sinha and Aditya. Pittie, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Hi. Thanks for having us.
It's been a busy day for both of you, I feel. Coming directly from the book
but
fair.
I think the wonderful office of ABP gives us, very positive vibes. So
Thank you
we're
very
really
much.
looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you very much for saying that. Modi's Northeast Story. This is a brand new book which they have recently written. It carries a lot of essays from different political leaders, and let's have a brief round of conversation what exactly the book is all about, and then we'll dig deep into the conversation.
So, आपको पता है मोदी हैं तो मुमकिन है, ठीक है। तो पिछले 10 वर्षों में जो नॉर्थ ईस्ट में परिवर्तन हुआ है, एंड when I talk of the scale of development, that is humongous, that is all pervasive. So whether it is infrastructure development, whether it is resolving disputes, whether it is mainstreaming the culture of the Northeast, because honestly it's a myth, जो कांग्रेस पार्टी है या जो हमारी विपक्षी पार्टी है वो हमेशा ये मानती है कि वो अलग है, सबको मतलब एक अलग दृष्टि से देखती है। लेकिन नॉर्थ ईस्ट वो जगह है जहाँ से रुक्मिणी, जिनका विवाह कृष्ण जी के साथ हुआ था, वो अरुणाचल से आती है। चित्रांगदा, from Mahabharat is from Manipur. तो ये एक मिथ जो इन्होंने फैलाया था हमारे विपक्ष ने कि एक अलग भाग है कंट्री का तो उनको एक अलग ट्रीटमेंट, ये इस मानसिकता के कारण बहुत प्रॉब्लम हुई थी पिछले शुरुआती 5-6 दशकों में, और उसको पहली बार सुधारने का काम वाजपेयी जी की सरकार ने किया था। 1998 से 2004 के बीच भव्य स्तर पर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण हुआ था, और उसके बाद मोदी जी ने उसको एक अलग लेवल पर ले जाने का काम किया है 2014 के बाद। तो आप देख सकते हैं कि इसमें जो कहानियां हैं वो when Aditya ji and I decided to work on the book, see we were aware of our limitations. हमने नॉर्थ ईस्ट में बहुत कोई गहरा अध्ययन नहीं किया था. So it made sense for us to make it a very collaborative, a very democratic exercise, and we are very grateful to Himanta Biswa Sharma ji, to Pema Khandu ji, to Kiran Rijiju ji, and 20 other esteemed contributors who have taken time out to write about their personal experiences, either in initiating or executing this change under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi ji, or they have closely witnessed this change. So that is what makes this book very special.
Okay. My question to you, Aditya, when you approached this book, when you both were collaboratively writing this book, what do you think has changed over the next 10 years? If we talk about facts, if we talk about hardcore anecdotes, what has fundamentally changed?
So, just to add a little on what Tuhin ji said, even when we approached this, we actually looked at what we said were the top 5 transformations that the Modi government has done in the last 10 years. So, the Northeast is definitely one of the top 5. and very little is known. So it was important to write an anthology like this, which documents lots of these changes with facts and data. So there's immense. We've gone there, seen airports have gone up from 9 to 17. The total capex on infrastructure over the last 10 years has been about 4 lakh crores. The GDP of the Northeast states has more than doubled in the last 10 years. It was about 2.9 lakh crores, and I think now it's nearly 7 lakh crores. So there's been tangible, real change there. And we wanted to document all of this. And people, who've with first-hand accounts, people who are experts worked there. We ourselves went there. One of the things I keep telling people is, like, for example, there is this Bhupen Hazarika bridge connecting Assam to Arunachal across the Brahmaputra. It's a 9.1 kilometer bridge. Seeing is believing. So I think the big change was it's an area which has a lot of geographical challenges, much mountainous, valleys, rivers, and bringing connectivity was the first step. Infrastructure connectivity, so airports, railway lines, etc. Pema Khanduji has written a very good anecdote that there is some village called Tali, if I'm not mistaken, Tali, which was established in 1957.
Okay.
This should actually go down in the Guinness Book of Records, because after 60 years, they got a road. Forget an airport or a railway line. It was a 51 kilometer road that was done under his government.
Okay. But Acha, let's move to the future. What do you think will be the next 5 years going to be? If Modi comes into place again,
why do you use the word if?
If, yeah, agreed. Okay. Of course, I'm talking to the national spokesperson for BJP. Of course, that is what you will say. But okay.
I travel, the country extensively. Forget as a spokesperson. I think I like to interact with people on a one-to-one basis and try to get their feedback. So I think across the country, the kind of acceptance Modi ji today has is unprecedented, and I don't think this government is going anywhere for the next 10 years.
Okay.
Some people say 20. I'm being more realistic, and then maybe we'll take it 10 at a time. Important point over here is that when Modi ji talks about a $5 trillion economy by 2027, and potentially a $40 trillion economy in the next 20 years, you need to realize that the growth impetus now needs to come from the smaller towns and cities, from tier 2, tier 3 cities, and from regions which have been hitherto underdeveloped or ignored. And that is where Northeast becomes very, very crucial. 10 years ago, Northeast was contributing 2.6% of our total GDP. Now that has gone down to almost 3%. There has been there will be a more significant increase as you see the effect of a lot of things which have been initiated now. Entrepreneurship is something which, there are 3 entrepreneurs who have contributed, and in fact, the way entrepreneurs are mushrooming, growing in every part of Northeast, that's a story of its own.
And not only that, I was reading a report sometime back. The spirit of sports have been given a big boost in the Northeast. Now you see a lot of capital is being spent on the sports infrastructure, which is a very good thumbs up from my side actually. A lot of entrepreneurs, as you certainly mentioned. A lot of emphasis on education is also given to those states, because cities जितनी ज़्यादा हैं, उससे ज़्यादा वहाँ पे villages हैं, और उस तक एजुकेशन पहुंचना एक बहुत बड़ा
एजुकेशन ही नहीं। अगर मैं यहाँ ऐड करूँ, देखिए कोविड के दौरान जो था, लोग अचंभित थे कि जिस तरह से ड्रोन्स के जरिए ऐसे इलाकों में वैक्सीन पहुंचाई गई और कोई भी ऐसे व्यक्ति नहीं था जो कि वैक्सीनेशन से वंचित रहा था। तो रिकॉर्ड टाइम में नागालैंड, मणिपुर, अरुणाचल के दूर दराज के क्षेत्र में 100% जो है वैक्सीनेशन हासिल करना, मेरे ख्याल से वो अपने आप में एक उपलब्धि थी।
ठीक है, मेक सेंस।
सिमिलरली जब नल से जल कार्यक्रम की हम बात करते हैं, टैप वाटर कनेक्शंस प्रोवाइड करना उन हिली रीजन्स में अपने आप में एक बहुत बड़ी चुनौती है। लेकिन आज रियल टाइम में अगर आप देखें, सब ये सारे कार्यक्रमों के डैशबोर्ड्स हैं सरकार के, अगर आप रियल टाइम में देखें तो सबके जो हैं स्टेट्स की परफॉर्मेंस इन सोशल वेलफेयर स्कीम्स को लेके 85+% आप सक्सेस रेट पाएंगे। तो दैट इज वेयर द अचीवमेंट रियली नाइस, एंड दैट इज वेयर पीपल हैव डेवलप्ड अ सेंस ऑफ बिलोंगिंगनेस फॉर द this government's initiatives have helped the people, given the people a sense of belongingness which was lacking before.
Okay. What do you think the next 5 years is going to be?
See, for me, I'm an industrialist, so I'm a business person, I think like that. what I try to stress to people, and what the book also will showcase, is that the government has built the enabling infrastructure and the foundation. Private people can't build infrastructure. So this has been built. Connectivity has come. There's been a record footfall of tourists, both foreign and domestic, in the Northeast region. So once the infrastructure is there, now businesses will come, services will come, and now I think, really the Northeast region will develop. GDP will grow faster, like he's saying, the contribution to the overall India's GDP will go up. So this enabling foundation has been laid upon which now real work will happen.
Okay.
Also, few things that Modi ji himself has been to the Northeast region more than 60 times, 60, which itself is, an amazing number. Previous prime ministers have hardly gone or never gone. So this itself shows how important this is. Another thing, what I felt that this book will bring out is it gives an insight into the development model and transformation strategy of the Honorable Prime Minister. Because this was like a greenfield project, not much work had happened here. So this really shows how he thinks about transformation and development while keeping intact the unique culture, language and other things of the Northeast region. So this can also provide a valuable template of how development can happen in other less developed regions of India. Slowly India has to develop altogether. Pockets just can't develop. So I think these are a few very important things that this story highlights.
But when you both were doing your own research on Northeast, do you still see any challenges which are fundamental in nature, which should be tackled in the next 5 years or 10 years? Whatever.
So there is a history of ethnic conflicts, nobody can deny that. But the good part is also that 90%, 85% of those conflicts have been resolved through dialogue. That includes some of the border disputes between the states, that includes some of the insurgent groups giving up insurgency and joining the mainstream, Ulfa and many others. So I think there is a very positive future awaiting the Northeast. But the legacy baggage takes its own time to completely go away. But I think with the amount of effort which has happened in the last 10 years, the future can only and only be bright. And therefore, the first chapter written by us is called Past Imperfect, Future Bright. So that explains the summary of the book.
What's your take? What are the key challenges which you particularly saw?
Like Tuhin ji said rightly, there are some of these challenges of the past. It's an area which has seen ethnic conflicts for a long time. But, the government is tackling it, I think is seized of the issue. They're tackling it. If recently, they've announced that they're going to seal the Manipur border. The Myanmar border. So, those things are happening. So, there's a lot of work that is going to happen.
Makes sense. My question to you, Aditya, is when you see it from a business hawkeye or maybe like an investor's hawkeye, what kind of potential do you see in all these states? Like, क्या industry निकल सकते हैं जो अभी शायद tapped नहीं है?
So, one to clear cut we ourselves saw, one is tourism. So tourism is there, but there are much more. It's just the tip of the iceberg. True. Nagaland is called the Switzerland of the East. Yep. We've traveled extensively in some of those states. They are so beautiful, it's unbelievable. But you're just scratching the surface with tourism. So that's a clear-cut thing. Adventure tourism, even religious tourism. It's happening big around the country. It's the full Kamakhya Devi Mandir. In Guwahati, in Assam, all that. So these are some of the things. The others are a lot of the, I feel, renewable energy.
Okay.
With the Prime Minister's thrust on renewable energy, that's a land that's well suited for this. Hydro especially. There is a big hydroelectric power project being developed there. It's called the Dibang Multi-Purpose Project, which is some 2,800 megawatts. Okay. So hydro, wind, solar. So immense potential in all of this. I think also in some of the local, produce, farms, etc., bamboo. So there's a lot of things that can develop there. Also startups. So one of our chapters, we have somebody from the Atal Incubation Centers talking about what's happening. So it's a very vibrant place because it's a young population. So, that's also something where they can leapfrog. You necessarily don't have to set up large brick and mortar companies. So, there's a lot of entrepreneurship and innovation that can also happen there.
When Tuhin, you said...
just to add, one of the chapters in the book is by a lady entrepreneur from Arunachal Pradesh, Tagi Rita, who runs an organic winery in one of the remote areas of the northeast, of Arunachal Pradesh in fact. And she has spoken about her personal journey and also how the initiatives of the central and state government have aided her in this journey. So I think, there is a lot of scope for entrepreneurship. It may be unconventional sectors, as Aditya ji just mentioned. Biofuel could be one, renewable energy could be one of the sectors which has immense potential over there. I think, a lot of it would, there is a term called serendipity. So as, when one looks at it more extensively, the northeastern regions, I think more sectors will be discovered and more potential will be. So in Manipur, the Manipur chapter has been written by a very industrious entrepreneur called Niranjan, and he runs a skilling center to impart skilling to the rural and semi-urban folks and young people over there, and he has been doing it for the last 10 years, preparing the youth of Manipur to face the world outside in Delhi and in other big cities.
Makes sense. Since you mentioned about Manipur, we certainly have to talk about violence as well, because if I don't talk about it, a lot of people will say you didn't ask them. How do you see that? What is the role of the government there? How do you see that can be actually controlled? Since you said dialogue is very important.
No, let me put some perspectives. Obviously when we were writing the book, when we started the book, Manipur was extremely peaceful, because you got to factor in that the period between March 2017 and April 2023, before the violence broke out, was also probably the longest, most peaceful and progressive phase for the state. Now there is.
But how do we define that?
Let me complete over here. Because there was no major violence.
Okay, by that. Okay.
But obviously there is a history to the ethnic conflicts, not just in Manipur, but in several other states of the northeast. In fact, that has been covered in the longest, in the most exhaustively written chapter by Rami Desai, an anthropologist who has specialized in the northeast. That's the longest chapter of 5,000 words, where she has spoken about the history of disputes. But then obviously this is not the time to go into history, but if you read it, you will get an insight. Now, it is but obvious that despite all the good work that we were doing, some dark shadows from the past could not be entirely exorcised, and they came back. Now I have to add two things over here. The ambitious plan of the central government of creating the highway to Thailand, which would have passed to Myanmar, that is something which would have had, and that always had geopolitical ramifications. So I think there are larger factors at play over here. The geopolitical powers, some of which are rattled by India's growing prowess across the region, especially India's sway or India's increased influence in Southeast Asia. The second is the illegal poppy cultivation, against which the present government of Manipur has come down very heavily. And that again has international sponsors. So I think, there are far more layers to the violence that you have seen, but fortunately things are much better now. I just hope the present peace stays and becomes more permanent.
But what do you say to the opposition when they accuse you कि गवर्नमेंट ने कभी इंटरवीन नहीं किया? और
ऑपोजिशन को देखिए, राहुल गांधी को ट्रेजेडी टूरिज्म में मज़ा आता है. अमित शाह जी ने 4 दिन वहाँ बिताए, ठीक है, और at least for the next several weeks after that, things were under control. But then suddenly one video propped up, which was an old video of 3 months, the actual incident had taken 3 months ago. So who were behind those videos? I think राहुल गांधी और इस विपक्ष के बारे में अगर ना कहें तो, बट सरकार की जो कमिटमेंट है नॉर्थ ईस्ट के प्रति, वो आप इस बात से देख सकते हैं कि कम से कम 8 से 10 जो हैं इंसर्जेंट ग्रुप्स ने इंसर्जेंसी छोड़ के मेन स्ट्रीम ज्वाइन किया है. ठीक है, दूसरी पिछले 8-9 वर्षों में दैट हैज हैपेंड बिकॉज ऑफ द परसिस्टेंट एफर्ट्स, और एल्स नॉट जस्ट मणिपुर, सम अदर पार्ट्स ऑफ द नॉर्थ ईस्ट वुड हैव फेस्ड सिमिलर डिस्टर्बेंसेस. सो वी हैव सक्सेसफुली circumvented the disturbance which other parts may have witnessed had it been the previous governments of the Congress party. तो मणिपुर में जो है ना, मतलब आप अगर उस चैप्टर को पढ़ेंगे रामी देसाई के द्वारा जो लिखी चैप्टर है, that will put things into perspective. And like I said, I think one needs to be positive. So we have consciously, when it comes to the Manipur chapter, we consciously did not want that, chapter to have any political undercurrent or overtone, and that is why we consciously went for a positive guy who is, working diligently to create opportunities for the youth in Manipur.
Makes sense. Now let's talk about something, since you mentioned so much positive. Let's talk about some really happening and see some really amazing stories from Northeast. Both single stories from you. When you were both were researching on this particular book, when you read all these essays from different people, you made them write a lot of words. What is the best or the happiest story you have heard from all these chapters?
See, I was personally very impressed with the kind of Hindi they speak. Especially people from Arunachal, उनकी हिंदी बहुत अच्छी है. और दूसरा जो वाइब्रेंट विलेज प्रोग्राम के बारे में विशेष तौर पे मैं कहना चाहता हूँ, देखिए कांग्रेस के ज़माने बहुत सारे इंकर्शंस होते थे. क्यों? क्योंकि कॉन्शियसली जो है बॉर्डर विलेजेस को छोड़ दिया गया था टू फेंड फॉर देमसेल्व्स. आज जो वाइब्रेंट विलेज प्रोग्राम है, आर विलेजेस, द बॉर्डर मोस्ट विलेजेस have become the first, centers of proactive development. तो जो बेस्ट 5G कनेक्टिविटी आपको मिलेगी वहाँ मिलेगी. जो पोटेंशियल इंट्रूशन होता है उससे पहले वो रिपोर्ट कर दिया जाता है. ठीक है. So these are big changes. I think let me.
That's a smart move, by the way. Huh? That's a very smart move.
So in fact, if you look at the map of Arunachal, Itanagar is at the, it's closer to Assam. In fact, ईटानगर से जो है, जो दूसरे साइड अगर आप जाएंगे तो कम से कम 500 किलोमीटर और फैलता है अरुणाचल. ठीक है. आज ऑल ऑफ दोज एरियाज आर सो वेल कनेक्टेड. प्रीवियस एंड थैंक्स टू पेमा खांडू जीज इनिशिएटिव्स, डिजिटल गवर्नेंस के क्षेत्र में अरुणाचल की परफॉर्मेंस वन ऑफ द बेस्ट है. तो पहले जो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के एम्प्लॉयज़ वहाँ से बार बार आते थे स्टेट कैपिटल में, अब वो सारे काम, और उनको 2-2 दिन लगता था या 1.5 दिन लगता था वहाँ तक पहुँचने में ईटानगर में. और आज अगर आप अरुणाचल की क्लाइमेट देखें तो इस वक्त जनवरी फरवरी में बहुत सारे एरियाज़ हैं जहाँ बर्फ़ में पूरा वो डूबा होता है. तो वो सब ट्रैवल उनकी बची है. The consistency, the efficiency of work has gone up significantly.
Okay. What's your story?
I think for me is, I found everyone to be so warm and hospitable. So that's a very positive people. We met the person who's written also, Mr. Alexander Heck. He's a minister in government of Meghalaya. He was so generous. He hosted us for dinner at his home. We had a wonderful interaction with him, his family. This shows the warmth. It's like the first time we are meeting and, somebody to host us. We traveled a lot in Meghalaya. We went to Cherrapunji. I was always wanting to see what that's about. So we literally went there.
Did you experience the rain?
We didn't. It was like your clouds are coming, you're in the cloud. When the cloud comes in, you feel moisture on your face, and then the cloud goes. It somehow didn't rain while we were there. We just had lunch and left.
I guess everybody is on cloud 9 there.
Have you been to?
I have never been to.
I really
you should. I think this book should inspire you.
I was actually damn excited to talk to you guys because it had Northeast. I really have utmost love and respect for the people there. Have some amazing friends from there.
You've never been to any of the Northeast.
I have never.
This book should.
I
This
know.
book
I
should
know.
inspire you.
I recently, like the last episode of the show, was actually a band from Meghalaya.
Oh,
wonderful.
So amazing singers, amazing band. But I've never been there. I just took her number. I'm like, next time I'm there, you guys performing a live music, I'll come and see you guys. Because
now with the connectivity, you'll be able to visit number of states, even on a short trip.
I really
earlier it used
love
to take,
those.
I believe, like a month.
Yeah.
If you try to go around trying to see the
So you
states.
have a direct flight to Itanagar.
Itanagar, this is Guwahati. You can go from Guwahati as well.
Direct flights to almost all the state capitals. Yeah.
True. Makes sense. So a lot of stories from Northeast. I guess that is all for this episode of Wassup, Aabir. What is your message to all those people who really want to go and visit the Northeast for once and maybe interested in a lot of politics from that state if they have never followed it?
Just do it. यही समय सही समय. Don't wait for the next vacation. I think you should just take a 10-day break, impromptu break and spontaneous break, and just head to the Northeast. You will experience a completely different and a very pristine world out there.
And since it is more of a political book, how do you define the politics of
I won't
Northeast?
call it political. There are 7 politicians, but then there is a author who has written on the legacy of Lachit Borphukan. So there are 3 entrepreneurs. So I won't call it a political book. It's a book which every student of developmental politics should read, because the same model can be replicated anywhere across the world.
True. Yeah.
I think once Tuhin ji is quoted Honorable Prime Minister, not much to add, but definitely everyone should visit the Northeast. Understand it's all part of our country, give it first priority, visit there. And beyond that, as a business person, I would say that look at starting businesses there, look at supporting students, see what you can do in terms of starting a business, services, something connected to the Northeast. The potential is immense and the benefits will flow both ways.
That makes sense. I guess that's a wrap for this episode of Wassup, Aabir.
Thank you so much.
बहुत बहुत
It was
शुक्रिया for
lovely
talking
talking
to
to you.
talking
Thank you
to
so
me.
much.
Thank you.